Good evening, and welcome to new food4Rhino webinar. Welcome again, the Raven AI guys. We had already a webinar a few weeks or months ago with them. It was so popular that our Zoom room didn't have space enough, so this is why we are repeating it. Plus, as you know, AI is developing so fast. They are here today with new features and new things to show to you. Raven is built for Rhino and Grasshopper. It can read your scripts, plugins, and custom tools so that you can describe intent in plain language, iterate on geometry, and debug in context. Today, Moritz Ritschel, co-founder of Raven, architect, computational designer, and researcher at the UC Berkeley, will show us what's the status of AI in CAD and how you can start working with Grasshopper even if you are not skilled enough in scripting or in mixing spaghetti components. So welcome again, Moritz, and yeah, we are very happy to see what you are working on during the last weeks. To the audience, feel free to use the chat. Maximilian is also here. He will answer your questions on the fly. And also during the last 15-20 minutes, some of the most important questions we can discuss this live. So, Moritz, Maximilian, you're welcome to start. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction, Carlos, and I will jump right in. So, very cool to be back. Also, with a bit of a new topic. Last time we were giving a basic intro into Raven, and it was so popular we couldn't get it to everybody. So this time we're here with CAD for all. It's not just everybody being able to join the Zoom room, but also the idea that we want to enable more people to use powerful CAD tools that right now, just because it's difficult to learn, they're complex to use, and there are so many different tools that you cannot know them all. Yeah, very excited to be back here with the food4Rhino community, and ready to jump right in. I'm going to give you guys first a little bit of a background. We are three co-founders from Zurich. Our team is actually also growing now, but this would be Philip, Moritz, and Max. So me and Max is also in the call. We're building this tool and like researching sort of how we can push AI into this world of CAD that we know, which is, of course, also the Rhino and Grasshopper community, as far as we can. So basically, the problem that we see is that a lot of things are living sort of separate and in isolation. So you might be modeling something in Rhino, but then you cannot connect it to, or you don't know how to connect it to a plugin in Grasshopper, or you have old scripts that fly around, or you basically have other CAD tools that you're trying to use and you're trying to string them all together somehow. And we think Grasshopper is a really good place to do this sort of connection layer for a lot of different CAD tools. And that's exactly what you need with AI. The reason why we chose Grasshopper as the place to build this is because the node graph is actually, we think, the best so far invented collaboration interface between designer and the AI model. Basically, the idea is that instead of just getting a result, like you do when you generate a mesh or an image or something like this, you get a workflow. And the Grasshopper graph is actually an explanation of what is happening, and it's not just the result. And in this way, you can iterate over the results, so you can keep adding to the Grasshopper graph. Instead of just getting one 3D model, you can get a model, you can tweak it, you get the entire logic that makes up the model, and you can ask the AI to make changes and add new things to it. So that's why we think the Grasshopper is a really good place for designers and AI to work together. Of course, a core part of designing is that you try things out and you explore. And it's usually not like engineering where you have a very well-defined problem that you just need to solve. In design, you also kind of discover the problem. And this iterative process is something that we focus on with the tool that we've built. So it's really about collaborating with AI and not the AI autonomously doing something for you. And I'm going to show you some of the ways that we do this. We have some things that are recorded and then some live demos that we're going to show. Uh, like Carlos said, there will be questions at the end. We do these webinars also so we can show you guys the stuff that we're building and get your feedback and hear from you. So very excited to do that now and show you a little bit of what we're doing. So actually, Raven, I'm just going to put this in here also so we don't have to come back at the end. Has had like a lot of adoption. So in the very start of the year when we did the webinar with Carlos for the first time, and you guys already swamped the Zoom room, we were just starting to grow fast, and now there are people in 130 different countries using Raven every day. We have hundreds of users, so super exciting. Really strong community, and great that the Grasshopper and Rhino community is embracing this future, and that we can build it here. And we love plugins, like Carlos already said. That's the core to building, a future like this is not just having a node graph, but also a node graph that connects to so many things. But that's the idea that we can focus on building the best AI system, and others can focus on building what they're best at. Like the Karamba guys build great structural analysis tools. Ladybug is great energy simulation tools. There's tools for ship design and so on. Whatever industry you come from, there are tools built for you in the Rhino ecosystem, and they work with Raven hand in hand. So that's the core idea. It's important for you to know. Raven will work with whatever plugins you have, and just help you to actually use them and get your work done. So here, a very first demo that we have, going from an image of a truss, which is an architecture element, here going back and forth 2 or 3 times, Raven and a user are turning this into a parametric truss model. So it's just going from the image. You put an image into Raven. Raven starts adding Grasshopper nodes, but you can see you don't even have to go through the Grasshopper nodes. You can go back and forth, give a little bit of feedback, and get a fully parametric truss from it fairly quickly, which is obviously looking at the image, inferring the logic behind it, and then doing a first iteration. Then you give it feedback again. You can type something new. You can show it maybe what it made or something like this, and then very quickly generate a parametric version of it. So that's one of the ways that you can interface with our AI system is using images. And then because I actually saw that there are some different users from the footwear and additive industry joining the call today, I thought I would add something that is more down their line here, because we tend to have a lot of architecture demos, but we do have users across all industries. So I went on the McNeel forum and I found this nice mesh model of a slipper by Jesse. And then I brought it into my Rhino. So since this is supposed to be a webinar for people who are not super familiar with graphical workflows yet, I thought this would be a nice, simple start. So you imagine you're a footwear designer or anything else like in this realm. You have maybe this mesh model, and now you're interested in turning it into a product, right? So in this case, you might want to do an injection molded part for like a plastic slipper. So what I did now is just reference it on my Grasshopper parameter, which is super simple, just telling Grasshopper, oh, here's this mesh I have in Rhino. Now I want to do something with it. So then you click the button that opens up Raven. And in this case, we are going to ask Raven to construct a lattice structure, so like a fine web that makes up this shape uh, to make a slipper into a physical product. And we actually also have an inspiration image that we're going to add, which is just found on the internet, like a plasticky kind of jelly shoe that can serve as a kind of inspiration for the kind of structure that we want. So it's maybe not so easy to explain exactly this lattice structure in words, especially if you don't know the specific terms. But using an image is a really good way to just give Raven like the kind of context on what you mean and what you're looking for. So here I'm adding the jelly shoe and the mesh model together, and then telling Raven, hey, I want these kind of square straps. Can you help me with that? And a good thing that we do with Raven a lot is maybe discuss plans a little bit before you execute it. And in this way, you have more control. And you can see I also set Raven into the smart mode, which is a little bit slower, but it gives you much better results when it comes to a complex thing like um, turning a mesh into a lattice structure like this. And then what you see now is that Raven is calling tools in the background. So it's calling component search, looking at what components you have installed and so on, and then comes up and then returns here. You can see components start appearing on the canvas, and it's taking this mesh, it's running it through some Weaverbird components that turn it into this lattice structure. And then next, I'm going to turn off the preview of my mesh that I have in Rhino, and you can see now I have a lattice structure, fairly simple. Raven even set the color in a way that it matches my original image. And then I go back and I ask Raven to actually, I would like to have control over how fine the lattice is, which means I want to break down the mesh and like rebuild it in with bigger or smaller quads. And then Raven goes ahead and adds that as well. And then here we will, whoops, we get a model back that has like controllable lattice structure. So thickness is something that I add after that. And eventually I have a nice slipper that is, like a references one mesh and lets me then rebuild basically the entire the shoe that I referenced, right? And so because it's parametric, I can still go back and change my mesh. It's all based on that one mesh. And you see, you don't need to know any Grasshopper to do this. You can just have one reference image, keep working in your Rhino model. And now I'm referencing both of them. So putting in another mesh to model the right foot. And here we go. We have like some nice slippers with some nice slider controls that allow me to do a lot here. Okay. That was my footwear example for those of you that come from this industry. And it really serves to show that it's not about making extremely complicated scripts, but about leveling up all those people who currently can't do any Grasshopper to get into it a little bit. And so the next thing is I want to work with reference geometries a little bit more. And I'm going to jump into my Raven. And here I have a 3D scan, which is I was on holiday in Mexico a few years ago, and I made a scan of this sculpture with my phone. But now we can imagine that we want to build like an interlocking waffle structure of foam boards to make a protective case. So I'm going to open up Raven. You can see I already have referenced the mesh on my canvas. So if I click this, you'll see it previews here. We already have this mesh. So then I will say, let's make an interlocking waffle structure as protective case inserts for this model. And then to show Raven what the thing that I've referenced is, or what I have in my scene, I can click this button right here, which is a camera icon, and it will add the current active viewport for my Rhino as context. So you can see I have this little image here now. And then I will also ask Raven to just do the waffle structure first and not do any of the mesh intersections. And this is the context that Raven has is really whatever you have set up and installed on your Rhino system. So we are so closely integrated with your Grasshopper and Rhino that if you have plugins installed, Raven can discover them and start using them. Like in the footwear example that I showed first, Raven was using Weaverbird, which is a plugin that's perfect for doing this kind of tessellation tasks. And it dynamically found it. And the way that you can find it is it's actually searching through my own system. We can see it right here. It's calling component search, which is like look into the components that you have available to try and find the optimal ones to use for the given task. I think I forgot to tell Raven how big my foam boards are, but I think it should be fine. So whenever Raven when you ask it a question, it can go and see if there are components available in your system that are like optimal for solving this. That also means that if you have your own plugin, your own components, user objects, anything like this, that might even not be public. So, firm internal, we work with a lot of big firms that have internal plugins that only they use. Raven can still find them and use them in the script without knowing what the source code of them is. It's really very modular and works really well with whatever your setup is. Uh, that's really important to us because we know that Rhino and Grasshopper are these flexible tools that people build a lot of their own code on top of. And if we build Raven in a way that only works with specifically supported plugins, then a lot of the use cases will break down. And that's also what we see in our user base. Basically, we have anything from architects to people making prosthetics to yacht design and automotive. There's a really, really big, selection of different industries, and they can all make use of Raven because it's so custom to your CAD workflows, just like Rhino and Grasshopper are. So you can see now Raven has brought out a first pass. So it's if we look at the script, which you can see there are some errors here, some warnings, but that's fine actually because Raven is going step by step and it will fix them. And now you can see that they've all disappeared. So Raven is working its way through the script, and now looking at these views, we can already see a waffle structure. And you can see that actually the mesh I'm referencing is a simplified one. So I've cut out some of the bits down here. So now we have this waffle structure. It's actually quite fine and pretty good, but I think it's too fine. So because this is Grasshopper, I don't have to live with whatever result Raven is bringing, but I can come in and I can change the density of the waffle structure to be something like this maybe. And then here, I actually want to say the foam boards I have are exactly 2 centimeters thick. And I can read what Raven said here. I've generated the inner waffle structure, calculates the bounding blocks of the mesh, and uses its centroid to contour outwards. So this is, dynamically fitted exactly to my mesh. So if I have a pipeline of building these inserts, then I could now put in a different mesh and I get a new set of inserts. And it's actually selected 5 millimeters, but I have 20 millimeters for the board thickness, and that's okay. And then maybe, yeah, so we will start with this. And then the next thing to do would be to make sure that we take this reference mesh to cut out foam boards. Or actually, we might want to change the direction that instead of cutting the foam boards like this from in the Y and X direction, we actually want to have some of them stacked in Z, so upwards along the body of the monkey. Actually, can you stack the boards? Sorry, stack the boards in X and Z direction. So some of them upwards. Raven will make this change for me. And then I already know the next thing I want to do is get a little bit of a simplified mesh and then cut out. Okay, so now Raven's editing the script again. Make some cutouts on the foam boards that are custom, to my reference geometry. So there we go. This is what I was imagining. Now I have my new directions for the foam boards, and I will ask Raven, can you use a simplified and offset version of the mesh to do foam through the out intersections? Yeah, let's use this. And you can see that going for one geometry with the idea, and I have my 20 millimeter foam boards, I can use Grasshopper for so much of that process to find the bounding box, to define my foam boards, to cut out the pieces of the mesh, all the way to maybe a laser file that I can send to a machine that cuts them for me. And then I don't just have this one result, but I actually have kind of a pipeline. I have a script that does this logic that I've worked out, in a session with Raven. Next time I want to do something like this, I can open the same script up again, jump into Raven and have it modified. And that's actually true for all Grasshopper files. So Raven can work with any Grasshopper file that you already have. And it doesn't matter what plugins it uses or anything like this. So you can just open up existing files, open up the Raven chat, and whatever you have currently on your canvas will become part of the context that Raven has, of the things that it knows, just like the components that you have in your system. It works even for really, really large scripts. So if you have, scripts with thousands of components, instead of looking at everything, Raven can navigate along that graph and find the parts of the script that you want edited. And you can even do that by selecting parts of the script and asking Raven to edit those specific parts, instead of it having to look through the entire graph and find the sections that you think are relevant. So those are some of the improvements that we brought out also since the last webinar at the start of the year. Raven can now handle much more complex scripts. But this webinar is really focused on getting the beginners into Grasshopper, even giving them an existing script that they can just ask questions about and iterate in, or something like this that is a very sort of parametric logic, not a complicated one, but very useful if you can do it with AI basically, and use Raven to do it. So now Raven's actually doing an offset. So it's offsetting the mesh a little bit, and I think it should be simplifying it as well. And before it's doing the mesh contouring. So let me move Raven to the side, and if I select this, we can pick to preview only some specific parts, and I can already see if I turn off, hide this mesh, you can see we get nice cutouts that are fairly simplified, that would let us keep this monkey safe and sound. And all that's left to do is to say, split them in the center and move them apart to open. And this is actually the mesh that I've referenced originally. And then if we look into the script that Raven has actually made, you can see here it's using another plugin component. This is a plugin component, sorry, to offset the mesh. So here it's taking the mesh, offsetting it. It's a fairly simple mesh already, and using that to cut into those foam plates. And now I'm just getting the last little bit, which is you would have a central cut here through the foam plates to then be able to place the figure inside. And then we could build our box for the monkey to keep it safe. So remember I said Raven to the smart mode. That just helps in Raven, getting things right, and it's a little bit more expensive to run. So if you just have a question about a script, or you just want to do a little Q&A and planning, you can use the fast mode as well. It's pretty good at that. I can hear Maxi typing away in the chat, answering your questions. Also, I can just let Raven continue this, and we can come back to it because there are some other things that I have in the presentation for us to look at. So this demo is about how you do CAD, which if you think about it, when you use normal CAD, what you have to do is actually already kind of know exactly what you're going to build, maybe like the size and the dimensions, and then you sit down in front of a CAD software and just specify all those things. And one of the reasons why people love Rhino is because it's a bit more liberated. It allows you to do just try things out and move things around quite freely without very rigid constraints. And so how we think about it is that how about going from the way that we actually communicate with each other, which is often by sketching, right? When I want to convey an idea about a 3D model, I would usually sketch it out and then send that to Raven. So here you see a fairly simple sketch to start, and then Raven produces this model that comes back. On the left, you see, of course, the graphic script that was generated, nothing complex. But here's where it gets interesting. You actually iterate, right? So then you say, hey, Raven, I want this to be flat on the ground, make it black. Um, and you can see the taper is there. It's actually getting really close to my sketch. And I get a fully parametric model, so I can go in and change any of the values. I can adjust them, even in this case, just visually, explore thicknesses and so on. It's in a way that normal CAD currently like really doesn't allow you to do. Because you have to kind of like define everything. And with Grasshopper and parametric design in general, you can be way more loose, which we think is super interesting for earlier parts of the design process. So if you're making something and you don't have to like make one rigid Rhino model, but you can actually make these parametric and living models instead, I think that's really compelling. And then here you can see you can sketch the next step. So you can go from the sketch and add something to it, ask for the next little bit, and it becomes like this iterative loop between you and your pencil and then the actual fully parametric logic. And it's closing this loop really, really quickly. We think in a way that will change how people design, because it used to be you sketch something out and then you sit down in front of the computer to just finalize it and type in everything. And now, instead of doing that, you can sketch something and throw it at the computer really early on, and you can get feedback, right? You can run a simulation on it. You can just get exact measurements, things like this, and then take them back and keep iterating. So that's a really, really interesting loop that I think you can establish. So in this case, the sketch is done, and then you can go to the prompt and say, okay, actually now we need a bridge deck. For the suspension bridge is a very fancy looking suspension bridge. Actually, now I'm going to add another hold up that we can place underneath to keep the deck up. So Raven has the context of your entire CAD model. So when you just send a sketch like this, it knows, like here, it knows where to place it, right? And to run it along the deck and all of those things because it has all that context. So yeah, that's also a way that we think making models parametric first is going to be really exciting for a lot of design disciplines. So let's check back. Oh, it looks like these are the splitting geometries. Okay, so I'm going to only preview the result here. I think I'm still previewing too much. So if you select things and then right click and you can turn on and off the preview. So here you go. You can see actually if I take out my model here that we get these boards and we can fit it in. It's not quite perfect yet. So maybe with another iteration, I can tell Raven that we need to make sure that the mesh can pass freely through these. But already now I have a list. Oops. I have a list of items that I can take. This item, yeah, of boards that I can get ready to manufacture. And they're all parametric. So as soon as I have a different model that I want to do the same thing on, just put in a different mesh. Even if you think of just taking this thing, if it's actually a little bit smaller, everything updates in real time. So if we go back here, if we make our monkey maybe a little bit wider, you will see now we get the script for a new box that fits it again, right? So if you have parts that are parametric and you need obviously it's a very simple example, but super easy to do something like this. You don't need to know Grasshopper to do it, not anymore anyway. Okay, great. So I have one more live demo that I want to show, and then very excited to jump into the Q&A and something like 15 minutes. We do have in this call again, I know, and also in general, always a lot of AC folks. So I'm going to do one more demo that's map that we know already there are a lot of architects in teams that are not computational design teams, but actually early design phases and so on that use Raven to do these massings. So it's really interesting. They never used Grasshopper for those workflows before, but now they can just jump in and make variations and get numbers out really, really quickly and just try things out, right, in almost no time. And that's also, I think, a very compelling use. I will zoom in on that next. And to do it, I have this model of a site. This is actually the Bay Bridge and San Francisco. So we have this big lot here. And what I've already done to prepare is I have a rectangle parameter. So if you're completely unfamiliar with Grasshopper, you would just go in here and you say rectangle. And that would give you this expose this parameter. And then if you right click on it, you can say set one rectangle. And then I want to set it at the central point, make it 100 meters wide, and click enter, and then 190 meters tall. And so now I have referenced this lot, and I can right click and say, this is my lot outline, giving that it gives it a nickname. So if you hover over it, you can see that nickname. Also Raven, if you install Raven, you can activate this. I can't see it right now. Anyway, you can activate it so it has a nickname hovering over the parameter. Okay, so now we can model something fun here. I would say to make this very practical, I need a 30-story massing at this site in downtown F. Let's just start. And I can get over the blank page just by getting probably a very basic massing here from Raven. And then getting really fancy, of course, by iterating, which is core to how we build the tool. That it's about going back and forth and just trying things out. So here we get a first volume. Raven picked a floor height of 4 meters. So then here, if we have 30 floors, that gives us this. And it's already making a number of floors. So obviously this is a very boring boring outline. But we could say actually we need to offset or to stay back from the street 5 meters all around, and the one facing this would be northeast must set back 15, and I want we could do something like an L-shaped building to start. L-shaped building. Because obviously this is just a big block, right? But instead of drawing this maximum block in Rhino, if I do it here, and now we come back and say, actually, we want it to be only, instead of 30, it's going to be a 25 block building or something. We can switch it up really, really quickly. And if you've noticed that Raven is faster now, it's because now this time it's in a fast mode. So fast mode for really simple stuff like this, perfect. Just make me a box and slice it into floor plates. Does that really well. And it's starting to edit and get us this setback. There we go. Now we have our L-shaped building. can see we're staying further back from on this northeastern side, like I specified, and 5 meters on all the other sides. Great, really simple. Now maybe actually this is it's a very boring building, so let's add a taper that starts, or we could say add a graph mapper controlled taper. The outer corner of the L shape should stay in place. And then because we don't just have the geometry, but we have the full Grasshopper file, right? It takes absolutely no time for him to give us out all the numbers. Give me the floor plates. Tell me, put a ladybug analysis on this model and optimize it to have enough daylight at the office spaces and so on. Really easy to do if you have this. Oh, look at that. Okay, so that looks great. It's actually just reversed. And I can ask him to fix that, but because we are very collaborative here, we can just come in and fix it ourselves. Right click on the factor input here and say reverse. Okay, and then we can get into the graph mapper. Here we go. We actually want this to be high. Okay. And now the question is whether I get it. So this should be high. Maybe I stopped. Maybe I reversed it too early. I mean, it's an interesting shape. Let's go with it. I need to know the total floor area, if the FAR is above 1 to 9, which is basically how much you're allowed to build in a place like this. And maybe, yeah, we'll just start with this. And what I want to show you is that these kind of numbers, instead of having to calculate them once, I can actually have them kind of like a live dashboard, right? Like the Grasshopper calculations there. So if I update the model, I get the updated values immediately. Okay, it looks like the FAR is actually too high. So it's too dense probably too dense, but it's a bit unlikely. And here you can see I get the numbers, whether we're above or not our FAR of 9. So here it says true, which means that it's above the specified value. And here we get what do we calculate here? Anyway, this will be the floor area and so on. This is the FAR. Okay, so now it's even 10. So if we go up here, actually make the building a little bit smaller, remove some of the floors. Now let's add a diamond shaped facade with evenly sized elements across. And we can add a different color to floor plate here also. It looks actually like fairly sleek, I think. Of course, if this wasn't just a demo, for a quick webinar, you could really dive in and get the exact graph mapper vibe that you want or change your building. But I think, yeah, if we add this facade here, this will actually start to look quite interesting. And all of this is on the fast mode. So before, when we were doing, for example, for the shoe or for building the waffle structure, I was on the smart mode. All of this now has been on the fast mode, which, as you saw with the graph mapper, it didn't maybe exactly get the logic right, but it's more than enough for me to play around with different ideas early on in the process. And it also is a little bit more messy than the result that we would get from the other one. So I'm going to take all the previews out here and then turn off these so we can get, yeah, that looks nice. Maybe also preview the floor plates. And it even got the even spacing, I think. Or it's still working on it. So it's making sure that the triangles are the same size all around. And I think we should be able to change the triangle size somewhere here. Yeah. Actually, I interfered with it while it was working. But I actually kind of like this bent side here with the triangles on it. So I have a feeling Maxi has been going wild on the questions in the chat already. I see 99 plus messages. But we will start the Q&A soon. So if you still have questions ready for Carlos to ask, don't stop putting them in the chat. This is my floor area height. Yeah. So actually, I'm going to interrupt Raven because that's also something you should not be scared to do. Just stop him. And you can revert back to an earlier version of the file by clicking these undo buttons. Super important for you to know. Raven cannot ruin anything that you cannot undo. So you can go to any step, any edit that it made on the script, and we can undo it. Or we can just go back here into our, I will actually set it in the smart mode this time and say I want to, if you hover below your prompt, rerun it. Because it turns out that this was something that I should have run in the smart mode. And now in the smart mode, Raven will attempt to solve the same task again. Since this is an AI tool, at the end of the day, it's probabilistic and it doesn't guarantee you all the same outputs. What that also means is that you can rerun it and you can let it try again. And that's actually a really useful thing to discover new ways of doing things and being inspired also. This time I'm going to go down here where we can see the U and V divisions, and we can add some more, change the look of the panelizations.
We'll summarize the questions for you, Moritz,
Yeah.
once you're ready. And yeah, we have a lot of questions, but some of them go in the same directions. So whenever you're ready, I'll summarize some of them for you.
Yeah, maybe Carlos also wants to turn his camera back on so we can have a
Yes.
session together.
Excellent presentation, Moritz.
Thank
And
you.
thanks also Maximilian to answer many questions on the chat. It's really on fire. We won't be able to cover all questions in 15 minutes, but to the audience, feel free to contact later Moritz and
Yes,
Maximilian
please.
directly.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to ask you one thing. I saw very cool Rhino inside Revit demo on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Can you show it for the
Yes.
architects here?
I can show it. I need to.
Even if it's a LinkedIn
I got it. I
post.
got it. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to locate the video quickly. So I can show it. And maybe Maxi will talk about it because he's the one who actually did this. And if you care about Rhino inside Revit, which I know that a lot of people do, you need to talk to Maxi because he has a team of people that are doing Rhino inside Revit workflows and really pushing it forward and making it sort of much better with Raven. So Maxi, I'm going to play the video if you want to.
Yes, thanks. Maybe you have to mute yourself. I'm not sure. But anyways, basically we start with a very simple workflow. I just uploaded a floor plan screenshot to Raven. You can just copy paste it into the chat window, and then first Raven, you can see it now in the video. There is a screenshot. Then Raven creates a rectangle, subdivides it. That's all in Rhino, and then it starts creating wall elements, door elements, window elements directly with the Rhino inside Revit components. And basically, I haven't used Revit before. I'm a newcomer to Revit as well, but with just a few prompts and some Raven magic, I got to this Revit model that you can see on the left, and you can see that if I change the sliders in my Grasshopper, my Revit model automatically updates. So that's exciting for a lot of people, and we have a great interest in that. So we're trying to build this and make it better as fast as possible. It's still very basic. You will see also in the video, if you look closely, that it's making some mistakes. So it's forgetting some doors there. Some doors are intersecting with walls and so on. But we're working on improving this. And if you are a Rhino inside Revit user, send me an email, max@raven.build, if you want to share your workflow and how we can make it better for you. And if you want to try this, just go to Raven, click on the settings icon in the top right, and then you can open the Revit mode, the Revit context profile, and it will be able, if you have the Revit inside Rhino installed, actually you have to open it in Revit, right? And then you can use that. So we're excited about it. And if you are as well, we'd love to hear what you are doing with it and where it struggles so that we can make it better for you. Yes.
Very nice. So Raven is not only the best AI agent for Rhino and Grasshopper, also for Revit. And yeah, some of the questions, well, I mean, there are many questions, some more a lot of technical questions, some more philosophical. First, Raven is available for Rhino 8, right? Both Windows and Mac.
And 7. Rhino
7
7
as well. Okay, there are people asking. Think also to the Rhino 7 users that didn't upgrade to Rhino 8 yet. With every new version of Rhino, we also update Grasshopper 1. I mean, Grasshopper 1 for Rhino 8 has many more features than Grasshopper 1 for Rhino 7. And have you tried it with Grasshopper 2, work in progress?
Nothing that people can try, so just a little bit on our side.
Okay.
Well,
it will come for sure.
Exactly. That's also up to McNeel, kind of how do you push it, how do you do the interoperability. So we if people use it, Raven will be there.
Perfect. There is one question that took my attention. It's one guy, I don't remember the name now. He said that now with Raven, all his years of Grasshopper expertise are kind of lost. I mean, as if now any user has now the same skills as an expert Grasshopper user. We don't think it's
no, it's not true. No, I don't think it's true. I think it's the same thing that you see in software engineering, where if people are really good at software engineering, they can now do more because they can lay the really good groundwork and they can instruct, they have a kind of craftsmanship of exactly how you should set things up like this. That is more, I think, more useful than before. But, and this is also what's really interesting, as a computational designer, maybe it was really valuable that you knew how to use Grasshopper, but it's also really frustrating to try to collaborate with other people because they were so scared of Grasshopper. Like that's what I saw anyway, that if you want to share a script with somebody, then they're worried to even move a slider because maybe it breaks. And so Raven can be a way that if you have a computational design team, you can multiply its impact, right? Because other people can now actually consume and use the good scripts that these people make. I don't think we're at the point where people will build a skyscraper with Raven and trust it, but they have really good teams that make really good computational design tools and then give them to the architects so they can put them to use. So I think as a computational designer, it's a great time to be around, not useless at all.
Very nice advice. Yeah, I see this many people kind of thinking, wow, now anyone doing vibe coding can have my skills. Of course not. I mean, it helps, it accelerates many things, but your background is always very powerful. So
I think it's democratization. People should be excited. Yeah. Give us sort of.
I don't know where to start. There are more than 100 questions. Well, people ask also, of course, about how the tokens work, no? How they are per
Mm-hmm.
question and not per model. Then
Mm-hmm.
how much do you have to pay per month or per operation?
So there's a free version of Raven, which gives you daily tokens. So we have a lot of people that use it. Um, you can just download it, and it's basically in our pocket because running AI models, of course, it's expensive. So you can only use it a little bit every day. But we want everybody to be able to try it and kind of see and engage with this. Tell us how they what they think about it. And so we're building this really big community, even if you cannot pay. And then we right now only have one subscription, which is a pro subscription, which the usage limits are so high that you can basically just go wild on it. I mean, I think we have one or two people that hit the limits, and they use it for like 6 hours a day. So it's really intense. And you
They are
can go on the
abusing the
smart
system.
mode, and exactly. And then if you hit those limits, then it's um, like for us also expensive again, right? So we only have one subscription. You can get it in a yearly. You can get it as a student discount. There are different, so there's different pricing tiers. Um, but if you just go on the website now and get it, it's $50 a month. Um, yeah, and that unlocks it. So basically, that's it. We're also considering token based, so you can buy a bunch of tokens and use them up, and it's not a recurring subscription. But of course, like that's also just complexity and things that we need to kind of figure out. But if people want that, that's also something that's going to come for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Also, well, from Maximilian's answer, we know now that Raven is built or well works with Gemini. No, it's a LLM you're using. Gemini is trained on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and on the internet there are Grasshopper forums, files, etc. But of course, not all the knowledge is there. And here there are two things that are kind of it's a bipolar thing in my opinion. So people on
Mm-hmm.
they don't want, of course, that you use their data, no, that the data they
Mm-hmm.
want the data to keep in their in house with
Mm-hmm.
um, with the commercial version, with the pro version, they can do it, no?
Mm-hmm.
Data is.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
But on the other hand, they ask if they can train Raven for next sessions with their data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, So this is something that we offer for the enterprise customers. So enterprise customers, obviously, they don't buy the normal subscription that we have, but we have an agreement with them. And for now, maybe we will get there that you can just put a bunch of Grasshopper scripts in a folder, and Raven can draw from there. So it can understand how you structure them. It can reuse some of that code. But right now, it's only something that we do a customization that makes sense for us if it's a big team. If you have 30 people using Raven, and then it makes sense for us right now. So obviously, we try to bring all of those features, everything that we can to everybody, even to the free users. But it just doesn't make sense right now. I hope we can get there. But I think in the future you can expect something like this. For now, what you can do is there's custom instructions where you can give Raven some kind of guidance. So if you open the settings panel in Raven, and you maybe have a way that you want your scripts organized, or some kind of conceptual thing that always, I don't know, you pass values in a certain way. You can explain it in the custom instructions, and Raven will always have that in the context when you open it every time. So you don't need to re-explain it. It's a way to customize it today.
Okay. And then also people ask if you've tried with ArchiCAD or other
Mm-hmm.
third parties, and also with
Uh-huh.
existing plugins. I know you native
Mm-hmm.
support some of them. If Raven also suggests you to use a plugin that it's not installed or not,
Mm-hmm.
how does it work with
Not right now.
other
It
softwares?
doesn't. Yeah, so it doesn't suggest any plugins. I mean, it can suggest plugins, but it cannot actively search through other plugins or something like this right now. Of course, if you ask it what is there for a useful plugin, Raven also has the capability to search on the web and do these kinds of things. So of course it can do it. But it's really mostly built around the things that you have in your system. So it's not like it looks up the components and other plugins. For other CAD software, we think that the McNeel effort around Rhino Inside is like super good and important and amazing for us. It brings us to Revit. I know that there are other CAD software integrations also coming or being built, so that's really, really cool. There are, however, before Rhino Inside was a thing, there were different bridges that people built, like plugins that just connect Grasshopper to other software. One of them is Tekla Structures, which is structure engineering kind of BIM software. And so Raven can use Tekla Structures. And we have a bunch of people that use it. There's a context profile for it. Context profile is a bit of an advanced feature, but we have YouTube videos about it. So if people are wondering, just check out our YouTube channel. And then also there's for Archicad, there's also Archicad Bridge, which is a way to bring geometry that you make in Grasshopper and Rhino into Archicad as native Tyrant objects. That also works. But the best one, I think, I dare to say by now, after Maxi's efforts of the last couple of weeks, is Rhino inside Revit.
When you were in Barcelona, you met Kike Garcia, right? The Rhino inside Revit main
Exactly.
developer in our office,
Yeah,
in my seat. Huh?
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, there are many questions about how good is Raven with GIS, with reverse engineering, with 3D
Mm.
printing or generation of G code, with ceramics,
Yeah,
with
we.
I think well, my recommendation to all the people that post these legitimate questions is that they try on their own because it's impossible for you to try everything, right? But if you have anything else,
Absolutely. But we do things like this all the time. So 3D printing, of course, like is a big deal. And I know that there's one other thing that's burning in people's mind that I see in the chat. C# and Python components. So C# and Python components, right now, we have users already testing it. So Raven can do everything Raven can do, and it can add and C# and Python nodes as well. So you can have part of the script in Python and everything else in native. And you can go back and forth and you can use existing Python commands. So I think in the next week or in 2 weeks, it's going to be rolled out to all of the users, but already today, some of our users are using it. And then like we ramp up the percentage that has access to the feature over time. So if you care about C# and Python components, I think Raven is a really, really good place because it's not just making the C# or Python, but it's embedding it in like a larger script. So that will be really exciting. And I've done some super cool stuff. I have like just modeled the geometry, all Grasshopper components, and then just say, hey, Raven, can you get the site data? And with one Python snippet, Raven brings in all of the surrounding buildings because it was a famous building using OpenStreetMap API and things like this. So it's going to be a big, big level up. But we only wanted to bring stuff here that you can try today. So next week, look out for C# and Python.
again, there are some people asking if the webinar is being recorded. Yes, tomorrow I will add it to our YouTube, to our Food4Rhino webinars YouTube channel, and I will also email you the link. Now, Maximilian, as you were also reading all the questions, are there any, as we don't have much time left, are there any things, generic things that you want to mention?
There was one more thing. Some people ask about Galapagos and evolutionary algorithms and so on. So right now, Galapagos is not supported, but we are working on it internally. It's working, and we will release this in the coming weeks. So give it maybe another 2 to 3 weeks, and then you will be able to use Galapagos and all the other components that are a little bit weird and don't work with Raven right now. Yes.
Yeah, and people also mention other plugins that are maybe not yet supported, like Ballbox, Heron for GIS. I don't know. Also, people ask how Raven compares to other AI tools for Rhino, right? And I guess this is very difficult to answer because, well, probably you look what others are doing, but you have your own focus.
Yeah, I mean, we are full on the Grasshopper world because I think with AI, all the stuff I said at the start, it's like the perfect place to be. So it's one thing that some people are using is the MCPs. So just interfacing Claude with it or something like this, or they use other software that is basically just an MCP. And I think that's great. That's cool. They can do some basic stuff, but having this node graph that is all native and Raven can work with like all the plugins and it's so complex. That's unique right now. And I think that also enables actual work, right? It's about, can you actually help people get the real work done that they're doing, or is it an impressive demo? And that's where we're still very different from other software. But
Nice.
thank you, everyone. It was really cool. I enjoyed this webinar a lot. Also happy that this time our servers didn't melt, unlike the first one. But it was
Yeah, I
great.
think we had more than 350 live viewers, so I think it's our record. Of course, later on YouTube, there are thousands of people watching the video. But again, what a great webinar. I'm saving the chat. I will send it to you. To the audience, many thanks again. Please feel free to contact Maximilian and Moritz by email, or I guess you also have a support forum, right? On Discord, you have a section, and maybe you have Discord as well, right?
Yeah. So I also shared the Discord link already. We have a Discord. Of course, if you email us or reach out on LinkedIn, we can help you as well. But we have a support, contact support form on our website. But Discord is great because you can see what other people are asking. You can discuss things. You can find communities for Rhino Inside, for Tekla structures. There are these groups that we have on Discord. So it's the best place to be. And sometimes we do live streams there too.
Exactly. Also, besides of your online presentations and webinars, you do some physical events in Zurich, right? Some meetups.
Oh, actually, here's something that I need to tell everybody because I promised that I will mention it. We are coming to London with Simply Rhino. We're hosting a full day workshops. So if you want to work with us for a whole day, learn all about Raven and like get really in depth, you should come to this Simply Rhino. It's actually in the lead up to Shape of Fabrication, which is a really great conference also to attend. And I'm going to share this link for anyone who wants to sign up. Come join this Simply Rhino. Simply Rhino is one of the distributors in the UK, and it's going to be awesome. Philip and I are going to be there for the whole day, like giving you all of the like basic introduction to Raven, and then working on actual projects, so like pushing it forward with different teams. So if you want to meet us in person, this is a really good place. And of course, there are a bunch of other events as well that we always post on our website. Events like this that are virtual, events that are in person. We travel a lot.
Next Future of Construction at the ETH Zurich, right? I'll
That
be
was
there
one
as
of them.
well.
Yes, we will. Nice.
I will see your presentation again. So
Yeah.
thank you, everyone. Thanks, Moritz, Maximilian. It's always a pleasure. And to the audience again, we are preparing new webinars. We'll keep you updated. And in the meantime, have a nice evening and a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Carlos. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, guys.